You're listening to Mixing Mindsets. I'm Andrew Blank.
And I'm Eric Navrosky, and we hope you find some value out of these conversations about lifestyle, music, and more.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Today we have Craig and Jake from For the Better on, and we're going to talk about the importance of your struggles. But first, let's get to know the band. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
Going pretty good. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Glad to have you guys on. Tell us a little bit about the band.
You want to hit that?
Yeah. So me and Jake, we actually started writing music around when we were like 13, 14 years old. And we've been doing it for like over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gotten to the point now to where we've been able to record, put out an EP, and really just kind of do what we love doing. So
Right on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, I checked it out. You guys sound sick. I love it.
I was listening to it this morning.
Right. Now, we know each other through, Jake, you told me Tom Towner.
Yeah.
Tom Towner is currently the drummer in Send Request.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
and
all linked up in
a
the
little funny story about that too is like, with this project, Tommy actually used to be part of it. He was he was
awesome.
the drummer at one
Tommy
point.
Ten Bands.
He's called Tommy Ten Bands. We all know him as that, too.
Yeah. He was in a ton of bands at the time, and I think that he's still probably.
He's dwindled it down to two now. It's just Send Request and Pure Bliss.
Wow.
He's
Yeah.
Tommy Two Bands now.
No, Tommy's great, and yeah, we played. I think we played a show with your band, Sign Request, at one point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and your guys' energy is sick, and just
Right
all
on,
around
man.
vibes.
Thank you. But yeah, no, we checked it out. You definitely have like a commercial viability to your band that I think is super awesome, and it's just great songwriting altogether. I definitely get like, I don't know, maybe a Day to Remember vibes. I guess the commercialized portion of it.
Right.
yeah.
But there's something about you because you have like the screaming verses and the singing choruses, but it's just all like really well done. And so props to you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think we took our time too. It was very we're very particular with what we wanted to accomplish with our sound leading into the debut EP, because this is our first piece of material that we're putting out, as a band, to kind of get that fresh start,
Absolutely.
And
When did that come out?
that came out October 1st
Of
2021, right?
Yep. Yeah, just
So
last year.
yeah, just
It's
last
still-
year. Yeah,
still
it
fresh
feels
for
like
the
it.
most part, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it just came out like yesterday. So it's like very, I don't know, but yeah, we were pretty like particular on what we wanted with this sound. We were leaning towards that mainstream vibe, but
Right.
didn't want to go too
too mainstream?
yeah.
mainstream.
You bunch of sellouts.
we just we didn't want to.
we
didn't- we
about
went-
retaining your own personality to it.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely drives your mission as a band. We've talked about this in the past. You guys have like a focal point for what you're going for. If you just want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, when we started writing music, we kind of just wrote about whatever, relationships, the typical stuff you'd hear. And down the road, once we were kind of figuring out our sound, what we wanted to really write about, I've been dealing with OCD since I was like 8 years old. So that's been a part of my life forever. And I remember I was talking to Jake and I was like, what if we like started writing about OCD? Like, I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, especially like in the scene.
Right.
So I thought that was a really good idea. And he was like, yeah, let's do that. And then what was cool is we decided to come up with the EP title off of a book I read called Brain Lock.
Yeah.
And we just took that whole idea and then wrote the whole EP around OCD, around my struggles, all that kind of jazz. And it was pretty cool how it turned out. So, and then we kind of just were like, let's like raise awareness for this thing. Cause like,
Right.
I know like people that have it, but it's kind of like it's not really taken a serious disorder. Like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I got OCD about this.
Yeah.
Like kind of people like kind of joke about it, but I've grown to learn that like it's actually pretty serious to a lot of people. Like
Absolutely.
it gets to the point where like you can't even like function sometimes. Like you can't even do a simple task of like writing like a sentence. Like that's how insane it can get sometimes. And I just thought that whole idea of like, hey, this is a cool, way to raise awareness for it, especially like with metal, like, screaming, all that stuff. It's like all the rage inside. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea to do that. So
Yeah, totally.
All right, so I have a question. On a day-to-day basis, what is some of these struggles?
yeah,
You
so
know, a little more specific, if
I'll
you
give
will.
you a little background on like how I like became aware of it, because I didn't think I had it. Like in high school, like I would like place my books in my locker. It'd have to be like perfect till it felt right.
Right.
I didn't think that was like OCD. I thought it was just some like weird thing going on in my head. I'm like, oh, that's probably not a big deal. Like when I write sentences, I had to like rewrite till it like felt right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of brushed it off. Didn't bother me too much. And then I got to my senior year of high school, and like it kind of like just jumped to a new level where I was like, whoa, like why does this like feel really scary right now? And I would get to the point where like I would just do simple tasks, like set my books down, do whatever. And like it felt like everything I did was like, it felt like this extreme anxiety, like it had to be perfect, or if I didn't do this bad thing was going to happen. I'd have these thoughts to where I had to like make sure it was in this spot or whatever. It had to feel perfect or whatever, or if something bad was going to happen. So I just got to that point where I was like, this is overwhelming.
Yeah.
So like I seeked out, I got help, went to therapy, and then I learned that I had OCD. I was like, oh, I have OCD.
Right.
So I started to embrace it a little bit more. And as I went to college and now where I'm at now, I was just like pretty much, how do I like handle this at this point? Because I wanted to like really attack it.
Yeah.
So all the therapy I learned was it's called ERP. It's called exposure response prevention. And what you have to do is like, say you'll get a thought. Say you're driving down the road. Here's a good example. A lot of people deal with this. Like you hit a bump, like a pothole, and you're like, in your mind you think, oh yeah, I just hit a bump. But then you could get a thought that says, well, what if like I ran someone over? And you have to look back and check. Yeah. Because if you keep driving, you're going to go, oh, well, I don't want to have a hit and run.
Right.
Like that's like a perfect example of people that have OCD. And what you have to do is you have to kind of like almost agree with it and be like, yeah, well, maybe it could happen. Maybe it didn't, and just keep going on. And that's the most scariest part, because you're uncertain. Yeah. And really, OCD is based about uncertainty. You have to accept all uncertainty.
Yeah, and living with it too,
Living with it too.
Being like, oh, if that did happen, then so be it.
Yeah.
Even though it probably didn't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's really a probability game in your head. And it's like as soon as you can accept, it sounds crazy, but as soon as you can accept both sides happening and being okay with it, that's really where you can get to peace.
Yeah.
So you're thinking probability-wise, I probably didn't run over somebody, right? So that's how you can sort of accept whatever the situation is.
You just have to accept that the majority.
Like I probably ran over a bump, not a person.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then my side of things too is like, growing up with Craig, I have to accept him for who he is, right?
Yeah.
And I think like when he brought the idea of involving his OCD into the writing process,
right?
I thought that was really cool and really unique. As he mentioned too, is like I became more accepting of what he's going through and understanding too. So it became it was a lot of healing in some negativity, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It was nice.
Was it a strain on your relationship at any point?
I mean, we've had some times where it's played a little effect, but not really. Like he understands me pretty well now. A lot of learning steps I think it took.
Yeah.
So you said this was in senior year though, that you like kind of really figured it out, right?
Yeah, that's where it got like severe.
So
and
what
I was
about
like, wow, I got to take care of this now.
Got it. Okay. So you would say prior to that, because you guys were friends for a long time, like prior to senior year, it wasn't as challenging to deal with?
Yeah, it was pretty mild. Like I was in sports, I did football, ran track and field, all that stuff, and it really didn't like affect me that much at all. It was really only based on certain things when I was in school. Like when I was outside of school, it didn't affect me. It was weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like a location thing.
Weird, like,
and then it just
mind game.
Yeah. And then once I got to my senior year of high school, it kind of just like decided to go everywhere.
Things just kind of blossom
naturally.
I think a lot of people deal with that too, is like trying to sort of hide these issues and traits that you're born with, or just unfortunately have.
Right.
But that was one thing that was so, nice at the time, is like accepting it and being like, we're just going to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important for everybody.
Right.
This is like a thing for us. Like, we want to educate people and sort of create that connection with them and saying, hey, like, this is okay. Craig goes through this. I have my own personal issues, and we're talking about this openly and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, if you're going through something, reach out to us, reach out to a therapist, whatever you got to do, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
No, I think that definitely goes with like the central message of what we're trying to get across with this episode here, actually, because I feel like because you guys overcame those obstacles and learned to accept just the full, like, just honestly, just Craig, just you grew closer through that, and through that acceptance, you found like a foundational message that built your entire brand, so to speak. So literally, the importance of that struggle led to this prosperous relationship, and you kind of must have grown closer, and you honestly you formed the band. You're doing this now. You're living out like your dreams just because there was this acceptance, and that's awesome. Like,
And
go ahead.
Oh, no, the cool thing about it too is like just from like us, like, me going through all this OCD and all this experience with it, is that we've kind of, there's like a bigger meaning now to what we write about in like our mission to being in a band now. Like at first it was like, it's just fun. We love playing music, but now there's a bigger message to it. Now it's like we're on a mission to be like
a different connection.
There's this unifying theme that's going to glue you to it the entire time, no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
now it's like when we go out there and we eventually want to tour, play all these shows, is like there's that message behind to be like, hey, like, especially with OCD, like, hey, like, it's okay, you can have this, and a lot of people out there have it that you don't think have it, and it's it's good to embrace that, and you can get through this. Like, so
I think it gives your brand like this overwhelming sense of purpose. It's almost like I think that would drive anyone. It's just kind of like, it's awesome to go out and be in a band and just go play your tunes. Yeah, but like it's like these guys show up somewhere with a mission. Yeah, and I think that drives you even more, and you have more of like we're really going to get it because we want to spread this message.
Yeah, and I think that it's a mission for ourselves as well, because it's like, I think the biggest thing is, like Craig said, getting out and playing shows and touring and doing all these things that we'd like to accomplish eventually here. That's a big leap for Craig, especially having OCD. It's like, can you put your life on pause? Can you take your mental health and put it on pause, and then do those things that you really want to do in life? And I think that we're already seeing that, and we're already sort of taking those miniature steps in a way. Just getting out there and being vulnerable about it.
Absolutely.
Before we move on a little bit, I kind of wanted to go back a second. I think I just wanted to say, I think it is important that you guys we're in that mindset of saying the acknowledgement of it, because I do believe that goes well beyond just OCD, and any other thought process that somebody might have, whether it might be a heavy form of anxiety or depression or whatever have you. There's many things. It's important to acknowledge that and say, instead of trying to hide it, to be like, this is here. This is the challenge that I have, and I want to overcome it. Because I think if you don't acknowledge it, then you don't give yourself the opportunity to overcome it. If you're saying, and this is an interesting topic for me, because I don't necessarily think that I really have, depression or anxiety or OCD. Like I feel pretty confident in that, but I do see the importance of saying, okay, yes, I do. And now let's overcome it. I've got my own struggles of things where if I didn't acknowledge it and I just said, push that off to the side under the rug, it's not there. Right. Well, then you don't truthfully take it head on, and you don't truthfully acknowledge it, and you don't really overcome it. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important to do it that way.
That's massively important for anything like that.
Because you're confronting the issue.
Face it head on, and you have to, in order to get through it, it has to be present in front of you, and you have to fight it. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I do have a question. Post senior year now, you're going into writing in this band. You're doing things. How does that affect how you're writing? Because I can imagine there's probably struggles there.
Right.
Yeah. Not to make this funny, but I'm gonna make it funny. Like when we go to record, like obviously, like you're trying to get that perfect take, trying to get that perfect.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, those little things you hear, the editing
with this guy,
right? Like every little like thing, like the mixing, all that stuff. I'd say that was a little bit of a struggle, just trying to make it like obviously like. I could say all of us are perfectionists in some way, but like
well, we all want to put our best foot forward.
Yeah,
that's just human nature.
But like, like with us, you know, mixing the music and all that, like I would go down to the T of like, nah, it's got to be like that. Like, one little thing I hear, I'd be like, nah, we got to redo it, and it's got to sound like that. And it was just, oh my god, it was so much for the littlest thing.
Scrap it, burn the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
No, Craig's the type of person who he does his little licks before he does his recording.
Yeah.
So if he didn't get his breath or that one little, let me clear my throat really quick. Let me just okay, all right, and then he goes into it. And if it's like
precursor to recording, it has to be perfect as well.
Yeah, it's like mind, body, everything.
Shape.
Yeah,
everything has to feel just right.
Sound.
Yeah. So there's definitely some things to overcome there, right?
Yeah,
a lot.
Do you have to tell yourself like, hey, this is fine, it's okay?
Yeah, lots of times. Like I've gotten better now, but like before, like I'd go to record and like I would know it's a good take. I know it's fine, but like I'd have a thought and it'd just be like, nah. But if you keep that recording, then this bad thing's gonna happen. Like I'd get that over and over, and I'd just be like, it'd be tough, and I'd like redo the take. But like most of the time now, I kind of let it go, and like that's my exposure right there. It's like I'm stepping into that fear, and just like saying, oh, I'm all right with it. Let's just like go with it. And then over time it gets better.
And that's the beauty of having somebody like Jake who mixes and does this kind of stuff, is he's your outside perspective to be like, hey man, this is good. You don't have to worry so much. And I do that with my clients now, and even clients who I wouldn't say necessarily have OCD, you know, they listen to their vocal take or whatever and they're like, that wasn't there. That was, it wasn't quite there. And then I have to step in and be like, hey, that was pretty solid, actually. So I'll keep that take. I'll let you run it a couple more times. And I've even noticed from the other side of the perspective. So, again, I don't think that I really have OCD, but Andrew sometimes will take the captain's chair and I'll be doing some guitar licks for the clients that we do. So like I've done a couple solos and whatnot for our clients, and I'll just sit there and I'll be like, no, that wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. And sometimes he's like, hey, it's good. Yeah. It's good, dude.
You're human. It's good.
Right. We experienced a lot of that too. When we actually record in Syracuse, New York. Yeah. And one of the engineers there, I remember I was just recording something. This is sort of like a side story, but I was recording a guitar part, and to me, right, I'm like that perfectionist where I need to. It's like my OCD in a way, right? I need to get this myself because I feel self-accomplished, right? And like if I didn't, then I feel like I'm putting my worst foot forward. And I remember we're tracking this one part in one of our songs called "Sleepwalking," and it's like in this verse we do this lead thing. And I just could not get the picking right, or something was weird. And our sound engineer, Justin, was like, just have me play it. I'll play it. Right. And then he tracked it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is OCD. My feeling is I can't let him do this. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it was like, it was worth it.
Now everybody knows.
And it was like, I accepted that. You know what I mean? It was just 100%. Like, that's totally fine. And like, I think that's what you experience too. It's like, if I'm telling you, no, this is fine, we're rolling with this. Yeah. Then you have to accept that.
We do that all the time instrumentally. Yeah. Sometimes it's here, just do it.
It's fine. The uncertainty. I've just grown just as a person to be like, okay, whatever gets the best product. Yeah. Just let it be. Yep. Whether it's me, whether it's you.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of get the work done.
Whoever can do it.
Yeah. I think especially because you and I are typically on time constraints.
Yes.
So a lot of times, a client expects us to come in and have this song written and recorded within a day. You don't really have that luxury of being like, no, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. It's a lot of time like, hey, I tried it 3 times and it's not happening. Pass it off. Yep. Here you go. Is it happening? Okay, cool. We got it. And then move on. Right. And really at the end of the day, nobody knows. And no one truthfully cares, honestly. Like if you put out you guys as a band, if you say, For the Better, here's a new single, everyone's going to listen to that and say, Jake plays guitar. No one's gonna look at that and be like, "Oh my gosh, that one at 152,
He can't play like that.
that wasn't Jake's guitar." Everyone's gonna be like, "That was Jake," you know?
All right. Well, with that being said, the next record will just be somebody else.
Oh
There you
yeah,
go, perfect.
yeah,
Just
absolutely.
all MIDI guitar.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah,
hire
all MIDI.
professionals. All
All
MIDI. Yeah.
MIDI.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the cool thing about that too, like with like recognizing like, you know, that's not gonna be perfect, is like I'm able to separate now in my head what is OCD and what isn't.
Right.
Because like times I'd record and I'd be like, that just didn't sound good enough. And there would be actually legit times where I'm like, I could perform
Yeah,
it
I could do it better, yeah.
But then there's the other times where I'm like, nah, that's just my OCD saying like
Yeah.
that wasn't as good when it was.
Right.
I know truly
How
it was good.
do you get to that point of separating it?
Honestly, like say like I go to take a vocal take and say it's a good scream or whatever, and I'm like, that sounded good. And then like after I do the scream, I like go like that with my lips or something, and then immediately my mind goes,
you'll think
you
about
can't
it.
keep that because to keep that, then this bad thing's gonna happen,
Yeah.
or whatever the thought could be. And at that moment, I need to recognize, no, that I have to like kind of just like separate my mind with my heart and go, did you actually like that take truly?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, I actually really like that take. I think that sounded good. And then I go with my heart, not my mind. And then I go, I'm not going to listen to you, OCD.
Yeah.
I'm going to push you off to the side and we're going
Right.
to stick with it. And then I sit through that uncertainty of fear. That's kind of how I do it now.
Now,
so.
do you feel like this dwindles down as like say the song's already out? Do you
Mm-hmm.
listen to your stuff back and go, "Oh, I wish I did that," or you
It's
just let it
weird
go?
because like when we were recording Brainlock up in Syracuse, there was a few takes where I got done with a good scream and I would just kind of go like that in my lips and I would, oh my God, I get the worst thoughts. And like
Yeah.
I would dwell on it and think about it for like days. Like I'm like, oh no, we can't keep that.
Yeah.
And then as I grew to accept, no, we're putting this thing out. Like there's no going back and fixing it.
Yeah.
I kind of just like started to laugh about it. I'm like, it doesn't bother me anymore. And then I like
No,
was
that's
fine
good.
with it. I started to
Yeah.
accept it. So
Even if it isn't the most perfect take,
Mm-hmm.
you do have to accept that it's human and you're just making the record. Like, yeah, you want to put your best foot forward, but still,
Yeah.
I think when you've got this overly perfected record, it basically sounds like MIDI guitar, MIDI bass, MIDI drums, and then it sounds like every other record.
Exactly.
You know, I think those MIDI instruments are some of the greatest things ever created for demoing and for writing purposes. They make your writing flow super fast, but you don't want that sound on the final all the time because you've got an overly perfected thing that anybody can get. You know, you want that you in it. You know, that
Right.
that X factor that I don't even know how to quantify myself. You know, because you can take MIDI drums and
That's-
change the dynamics and do all this other stuff and make it sound as much human as you possibly can. But to me, there's always just something different about the not human aspect.
yeah, just having that natural sound and that natural performance of like, yeah, that just sounded good. Like I'm not making this perfect. It's
Emotion.
just,
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah,
Yeah.
really
Yeah. You can't
putting your heart
quantify
into it.
that.
Just nothing
Yeah.
beats that. It sounds.
And I think
yeah.
that's where, like, with this EP, you know, and in these songs, that true emotion comes out,
Yeah.
right? Because we're just genuinely writing
Yeah.
what we feel, and what's
Right.
coming out is very authentic, and
Right.
and hopefully that is also translucent or lacent, whatever it is,
Yeah.
translucent, right?
There
Would it
you
be
go.
it?
That means like see through.
Yeah. Hopefully people could also see that. You know, basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, words.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, I feel like that's heavily dictated by the lyricism and the voice anyway, and so like you can't replicate. There is no robot version of you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you are the one that's giving it life. So,
Yeah.
and I think if you have your central theme, and if the lyrics are heartfelt, people are gonna feel that.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna make a track now
Definitely.
that's all MIDI and then using Siri as the vocals.
Should be easy.
You just gotta type out the lyrics and just hit play.
Yeah.
Like do the TikTok, like that annoying
She
TikTok
one-taked it,
girl
man.
voice. Oh
I would
man.
love to hear that, and I want to know my own like emotional response to it.
I don't know.
There has to be like we have to test that.
Yeah.
Completely robotic music, and I
mean,
want to know
that's-
will I feel something out of it?
In a way, that's auto tune.
In a
In
way.
a way, I mean,
Except
there's-
we'd also have to have Siri like write the song herself. It would have to be like auto-generated.
Oh.
Like an AI thing.
Yeah, it would have completely AI.
That sort of-
because lyricism would evoke emotion, so we would have to strip it of all of that. Yeah,
I know that probably would make a lot of people mad to even think about that, but that kind of that excites me more than anything.
Right?
'cause
It's crazy.
I just want to test that theory. Like, what will I feel out of that? If I
Yeah.
just like started with like the word "the" and then just like kept hitting like the thing on the phone, where it just creates the sentence for you. And then,
but that's a prediction based off of your old texts.
oh,
So what you have to do
a brand
that.
new phone.
You've got to do that thing where it's like I made an AI watch
Yes.
whatever many hours.
Yeah, 1,000 hours of blah blah blah, and
Yeah, but even at that, it's more specific to whatever you make it watch. You literally have to give an AI just a lifetime of human experience, or at least how
a
many.
lifetime experience of reading the dictionary,
Oh God,
and then base it off of that.
sounds awful.
This AI is just a slave.
I want to get to one more question before we have to wrap it up because we're getting close here.
Right.
What do you think is the greatest thing that helped you push beyond these challenges?
Oh man, I mean, I'd say
I know you mentioned you went to therapy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done a multitude of many other things to help you out here. What, like, can you pinpoint it, or do you think it was a combination of everything?
yeah, I think it was a combination of everything. Obviously, music was a big role. Like another big band that I listen to that really motivates me is the MD Affliction, because
Okay.
they talk about mental health and
Yeah.
all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So that's really motivated me to get better. But I think really what it came down to was just doing what the therapist told me to do, like just trusting the process of the therapy of like, don't do that compulsion and you're going to be good at the end of the day. It's just really not being scared, just being brave.
Yeah.
And the older I got, the more brave I got, the more I took it on and said, I need to be brave with this or my life's just going to be like this the rest of my life. Right. And as soon as I took responsibility and accountability and ownership of just like, I need to get better, that's when things started to change. So
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think kind of an overarching theme there is, seek help through people. I don't think anyone is above seeking help. I don't think it's cool to not look to other people. Like, I do believe that we're kind of put on this earth for other people, to help other people and make each other's lives better. So that's,
Right.
I just think that's such a positive, great thing to do and to think about. Like,
whether
that be a quote unquote therapist or your whoever is in your life that just truthfully cares for you and wants to see the best for you, go and talk, go and seek these people. And, if you want to talk about persevering through whether that be OCD or any other sort of physical or mental illnesses,
Right.
that, just seek wise counsel, which is, as I talk about, I'm a big Christian. So biblical principles, essentially seek wise counsel. And I love it. And I love the fact that you have already taken that path and have already seen, good things come out of it and positive things come out of it.
Yeah, and definitely. And one side note too, when I was in high school and it was that severe point, the thing that I did that really kind of changed my mindset about it was like, I was very prideful about it. I was like, nah, I don't have it. Even though like my therapists were, they were diagnosing me that I have it. I was just like, no, I don't have it. I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, there's no way I have this. I don't have OCD. I'm not that kid. I was kind of just labeling myself as this weird kid if I had it.
Yeah.
And then when I got to that point where I was like, no, it's okay to have it. Like, that's normal. Like, people have problems. Then that's when things really started to change. So
It can all turn around at the end of the
That's
day.
right.
Yeah, that's
All
awesome.
turn around.
yeah.
So there's a good chance that our video shut off, and I don't actually know. But if it did, that's fine. Sorry, YouTube. Yeah, okay. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
For the Better band, what's your socials so people can find you?
Yeah, you could check us out. I think the only thing that's different is Instagram. It's For the Better Band, but
Okay.
everywhere else, For the Better. Check us out. And
Personal?
personal Instagram.
Yep.
Just Jake Pomeroy.
Cool.
Mine's Craig.Stanley with 2 Y's.
Where's,
Yeah.
Don't you have an underscore in yours?
I might have like an extra P in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
we'll see.
For
know,
the better.
It's JAPKE.
Yeah, Jake P. Pomeroy.
Yeah, no.
Extra letters. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Anything else you guys want to kind of plug?
No, just go and stream Brainlock if you enjoyed this conversation.
Absolutely.
And
Remedies the 6 Ohm.
learned anything or got any value from it.
Wonderful.
All right,
okay.
guys. Thanks
We'll
for
see you
coming
later.
on. Yep. Adios.
Peace.